Hello, I'm reading Evie. I'm wearing the same shirt as I was last week's video, because it is still 420. So I don't wear the same shirt every day, no worries. I am also just kind of getting a head start on recording videos. As I said I said yesterday, but your yesterday will not be the same as mine. Anyways, so I found this on a YouTube channel. I don't remember her name, Murphy. I don't know how to pronounce it, like Napier. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. But something like that. Anyway, she did a reader problems tag. And it's 11 questions. I almost said 11. 11 questions. So I'm going to go over. Now, granted, my answers might be a little boring sometimes. I'll try to make them not too boring. So let's get started. The first one, you have 20,000 books on your to be read, TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? I feel like I have 20,000 books. I don't. I have like almost 2,000 books on my TBR list, to be read list, or read. To be read. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, sorry. I'm getting distracted. Basically, I just have a Word document list. If I had my laptop, I'd probably point it at the camera, but basically, any new book that I hear about that I want to read, that I'm interested in the plot, I add it to that list. And basically, whatever it tells me is number 1 or 2 or whatever that I'm gonna read, that's what I read next. So basically, if I had like a grand total of 20,000 like new books for some reason, like maybe I inherited a library or something, I would just honestly randomly put it on the list. That's how I would decide, mostly just because I'm a huge fan of lists. I love lists. I love making lists. I have a list of YouTube video ideas that I go off of, and I also have like a to-do list. That's kind of made out of chores, but like also fun things like filling out Sudoku books. I just love lists. Question number 2, before I get too distracted. You're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? I would think it depends. I said before in the previous 2 or 3, probably 3 videos that like Harry Potter, the 5th one, Order of the Phoenix is my least favorite. And I'll read it or listen to it. So if that's the case, I push through. Even though I could skip it, I know what happens, and I know, I could easily go on to like the 7th one or 6th one and have all the context I need. If it's a new book, I bit my tongue. It would just depend. I'm a good judge of picking out my own books to read. I purely go off of plot, and hardly they ever disappoint me. The only times I really am not interested is when I am not the one who chose that book for myself. Not every single time, but that's how it has happened. A lot of times it might cause me to go into a reading slump. Also, I'm a quick DNFer, which is do not finish or did not finish. Like, there's 2 books that I read the first page, and one of them I couldn't even understand. It was like Pride and Prejudice, and I just could not understand it because, classics have a different way of writing. So I just DNF'd it right then and there. And then, what was it? How to Kill a Mockingbird. I read like the first page. DNF'd it. So I would probably just quit. Just depends on if I was loving it in the beginning. I'll let it try to pick back up. Question number 3. The end of the year is coming, and you're so close but so far away on your Goodreads challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? I don't usually cheat on my challenge, and I also don't use my challenge to pressure me. My Goodreads challenge has never pressured me one bit. If I make it, I make it. If not, whatever. I made it last year, I think, but in 2018, I think I didn't make it. I set like a goal of 50 books, knowing that I don't read that much, and I was in college at the time, and I don't remember how many books I read. I might look that up later. But I definitely didn't make it, but it also didn't pressure me. In 2019, I lowered it a lot. I think you know what? Let's just look it up. I have my Goodreads right here. Reading challenge. So this year, I am actually close to making it anyways. I put 13 books as my goal, because last year I read 12. Here's 2018. So in 2018 I read 11 books out of 15. Sorry, I just saw 2017 and it said something about 470 books. 2017 was when I got the Goodreads. That's why that was a ridiculous number. Okay, sorry. Anyways, so basically, since I read 11 books in 2018, I saw a comment once in a book group that I was in that how they set their challenge was just add one to what they've read last year. So I stole that idea. So like I said, 2018 I read 11, so therefore I set my 2019 challenge to 12, and I read 12 books. So this year I set it to 13. So, and I have 2 more books to go on my reading challenge, so I'll definitely make it this year. But to answer the question, I would not like cheat it. Like I wouldn't read like children's book or whatever just to have like that small book count. I would probably just read more if I have the time, make more free time, so that way it's not like pressuring me, and it's not like it's just making me do a hobby that I really love anyway. So I never really feel pressured on my Goodreads challenge. If I make it, I make it. If not, whatever. I'll definitely make it this year, though. Like, I'm on the 12th book, which I could have finished, like, days ago. I just need to read more. Anyways, that was a distraction. Number 4. The covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? I personally do not care about that. I don't even have completed series. Like, even my favorite book series of all time, I don't even have it completed. And I have no cares on getting it completed. And that's the Harry Potter. Like, I only have the first, 4th, and 7th book. I have the first 4 illustration books, though, and I will continue getting those. So once that's completed, I will have a completed series. And then I know I have the Lion Game series by Sarah Shepard. And I only have some of those. Some of them were on not Goodreads, Overdrive, an free app that works like a library. So whatever wasn't on there, I bought. I also have I guess I don't. I was gonna say I have a series that varies in. Oh, I do, Harry Potter. The first one I have is in paperback. The last 2, or not, well, the 4th and the 7th are in hardback. And the 4th one I got at a garage sale years ago. that doesn't even have like the actual cover on it. So personally, I never gave a fuck about that. Never have, never will. I know like my boyfriend or fiance has hardback. He prefers hardback, and this is his office. You can't even see the books in the camera, but his books are over there. And he has to has hardback. I know a friend of mine who is also a good reader, or big reader, the good reader, that has to have like matching and everything. I don't. Whatever's cheapest on thrift books, the cheapest like version, that's what I get. And if a full series isn't on Overdrive, but like 1 or 2 is, I will not buy those, and I'll just read it on Overdrive for free. That's what I did with Pretty Little Liars. There's like 16 books in the series. I don't have all 16 books. Don't care. Number 5. Everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? So I'm in a lot of book groups on Facebook, reading groups and all that. So I pretty much voice my opinion there. Sorry, allergies. Not the coronavirus, just allergies. But I'll usually voice my opinion there. I guess I have BookTube now that I will that I kind of voice my opinion on. So basically that. Honestly, we're just friends if they've read the book too. Because usually I can have a respectful conversation with them anyways, whether it's or at least over books. No, but yeah. Number 6, you're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you deal? So that has happened before. I don't remember what the last book was. I know, like, in, I think, middle school, when I was reading Marley and Me, I made sure that I read the ending at home, because I already knew I would cry. Which I'm sure you all know the ending of Marley and Me. Basically, like, I do pretty good at not actually crying in public. Whether it's like a movie, even if it's a movie that I will cry at home, I don't really cry in public or around people. It's not even on purpose sometimes, I just don't. If anything, I might like tear up, and you might see like a little tear, but it doesn't like roll down. If I think it's getting like real bad, which I don't think has happened, I might like get on my phone for a little bit, distract myself, maybe read the book later. But I do pretty good at not crying in public, unless something, tragic has actually happened in life. But I mean, which has happened once. I cried in public, but well, twice. But anyways, over a book, I can control that a lot better. Like, I might tear up, but I'm usually in like when I read on campus when I was going to school, I would read. There was a table, and that was right next to like a wall that blocked off everything else, basically. At the Grill, the student union, which those watching who sat with me know what I'm talking about. And that really like hit a lot, anyways. And I mean, it was still in full view of public, but like it was pretty hidden. So I would just sit there anyways and read. Anyways, question number 7. A sequel of a book you loved just came out, but you've forgotten a lot from the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, or cry in frustration? I've had that happen. I actually just reread, well, it's a lot sooner to this actual date than it will be when the video comes out. But I just reread the House of Night series because I was reading them when it came out. I think I left off on like the 6th book because that's what they had out. There's like 12 books, 14, I don't know. But But anyways, I forgot where I left off, so I just added it all on my list again and reread them, which I had forgotten a lot anyways. A lot of times, like I said, I have a really long to-be-read list. So by the time I actually get to a book, the series is usually completed, or it was long already completed. I do have the Crank series, I would say you would call it the series, Ellen Hopkins books. I have like all those on my list again, because I again was reading them when it came out. Because in like middle school and high school, I read what I felt like. I mean, I still kind of do, but like I don't force myself to read a book I don't want to read. But like I kind of just read whatever I picked up at the library. Whereas now, I have a more organized list. So, anyways, back then I was reading Crank, and I left out. I don't know where I left off, so I'm just gonna go back and reread them. Excuse me. At this point, I would probably. Sorry, I should have brought some water down here. I would probably just try to find a synopsis. I have a series on my list. I want to say it's not this Mortal Instruments, but it's like I think Shadowhunters, or it's whatever like came after that. I don't know. But I might reread the Mortal Instruments series before I get to those, just because I have forgotten just about everything that happened. And I only read it like within the past 5 years. It was one of the summers, probably 2016. But I definitely wouldn't skip the sequel. If I liked the book so much, I would never skip it because I'd want to continue. So out of these options, I would probably either reread the book or try to find a synopsis. I think if you're crying in frustration, you're a little dramatic. Not like judging if you do, but we're not gonna go there. Question number 8. You don't want anyone bothering your books. How do you politely tell people no when they ask? So I am very picky about my books. I know a lot of people aren't, like on my reading groups, because they're like, books should be shared, which is all well and fine, but I bought these books and I don't want them shared. No, anyways, I have bought or lent out books outside of my mother. My mom had access to my books, of course, when I lived there, or when I kept them there when I was away from college, or for college. I know I lent out a book or two in middle school, and they kept them for like a year, which was kind of odd because they were a big reader too. Which, like, honestly, I forgot about until just now. And then I lent out another book a year or two ago, back when I was still in college, and they kept it for like half a semester, and I was just like, I need my book back now. But usually at this rate, it would just depend on who's asking. If it was somebody who lives further away, I wouldn't let them borrow it, just because I wouldn't know when I'd get it back, unless they're willing to mail it. And something just popped up on my screen. Give me like 2 seconds. Let me get rid of that. It's annoying. And then there's like, it won't let you X out of it, so you have to go to like Task Manager to close out. Okay, we're still recording. My phone just shut itself off. Anyways, so, and I actually just lent out a book recently, and I got it back pretty quickly. So honestly, at this rate, I would probably just tell people I don't lend out books. It just depends on who's asking. If it was my mom, I would lend it out to her, of course, even though she lives 3 hours away from me. She's the only one who I would lend out a book for that lives more than like 30 minutes away. Maybe my other friend who lives also 3 or so hours away, 2.5. Depends. But yeah, I am very picky about lending out books. But a lot of people don't really ask me, so that's good. I think, aside from like middle school, one time in college, somebody did say like they wanted to borrow a book just for like a class, because it was gonna be like a boring class. It was somebody I had worked with, and they were like, another person was like, "Oh, they'll treat it well. It's no problem." And I was just like, sketchy, but okay, sure. I had like 2 books in my bag, and they were like, looking at them, they were like, "No, I wouldn't give them back. I can't do that to you." So after that, I was just like, "No, I'm definitely not lending out books, especially to like strangers." But yeah, a lot of people don't really ask though. I had like one person, an old friend of mine, who like asked me when they were hanging out with me, and they saw like a book, and that's the person who kept it for like half a semester. But the friend that I also just lent out a book, she kept it for like a week, and I was like, hell yeah. So I would definitely lend books to her. And if it was my fiance, of course, we live in the same house. I actually borrowed his book, which is actually the one I did my first YouTube book over, video over, loved. I'm going on a tangent. Anyways, back to number 9, reading ADD. You picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. Don't read ahead. 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? So that's never happened to me, or not that I remember at least. If that did happen, I would probably, I don't know, maybe try a different genre. Just keep going reading. Like on my list, it's made up of different genres, so you might get lucky on that. Maybe pick up like a different book on my shelf that like I've been wanting to read, and I will read. Honestly, like, yeah, that's never happened to me, so I don't know. Like I said, like, I maybe change how you're picking up books. I know, like, a lot of people, I don't know, like, a lot of my reading groups, some of them just won't read a book. Either it's not popular or if it is popular, like, so maybe don't add that as your criteria. Maybe don't judge based on its cover, the title. Like I said, I choose purely on plot. If a book is popular, I might go and read the plot. And if I like it, great. I'll add it to the list. If not, I'll shelve it as not interesting on Goodreads. Sorry, I probably muttered that word. But yeah, I've never had that happen. I would probably, like, I can only suggest what I did. Change how you're choosing books. Maybe let a friend decide. I don't know. If you have, like, other readers. Question 10. There are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? So I usually try to buy 1 a month. There have been times where, like, I go out with a friend back in college and would go buy a few books. At that point, it would just depend on how many I can afford. So I can't really have a set number. I also don't usually spend too much on books. And honestly, like, if there's a new book coming out, I add it to the list and it's on the bottom of the list. So I probably won't buy it for another few years. I think an average about 3 years sits on my list. So I probably wouldn't buy any of them yet. Maybe in the future. But I don't know. It says they're coming out, and how many do you actually buy? So I don't know. If I'm excited to read it, it would also depend on if it's on overdrive by them. Because if it's on overdrive, I don't buy it. Sorry, I really should have brought water. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a set number. I buy a book every month, so maybe that. Last question. Yeah. After you've bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelf before you get to them? So I actually accidentally answered that. It's about 3 years. Well, no, it like the ones on my list are usually not ones. I don't know. Like I said, I buy one every month. Excuse me. So it just depends on how fast I'm reading. Like I think I have. I really wish I would have brought my list in here. I think I have maybe the next 10 or less that I'm going to read next. Actually bought. Honestly, less. I think I have like 7. And they have been on my list for a couple of years now. So, it depends. It just depends on how far down they are on my list. Like the last book spree that I went on, I made sure to buy pretty much only books that were on my list. So it just depends. And if I have a habit now, if people want me to, or want to give me a gift for like birthday or Christmas, I will send them a random screenshot of like 3 books that I want to buy, and they could buy me one of those. So it just depends. And it's pretty random. Like I spoke a lot of like the shelves I have on my Goodreads, and one of them is just labeled need to buy or want to buy. And so I just send like a random screenshot of that. So it really just depends on what number it is on my list, because it's a numbered list. So yeah, I don't really have like a set answer for that either. So that is all the questions that I have. I will post the questions on the description. So if you want to answer any of them or have like a more exciting answer than I did, feel free to answer it. Feel free to subscribe, like, and share.